some questions that I think we should all be asking ourselves at the moment, for those of us who are in agreement that the situation that we are facing is dangerous and tyrannical and needs to be turned around, is what are we doing as individuals to influence others in an active way? So how are we engaging with others to influence them positively? And also, and just as important, how are we using, if at all, social media, particularly Facebook? Are we using it to spread fear, or are we using it in a positive way? Now, I'm going to do a video shortly on to what extent am I part of the problem and part of the solution, because I am using social media to deliver my message on a daily basis. Now, social media undoubtedly is a large part of the problem of why society is divided and confused and suffering from information overload and sick, essentially. To a large degree, that is because of social media, particularly Facebook, I would say. However, it's also part of the solution, and it's actually, social media in and of itself isn't a problem. That's just neutral. It is what it is. It's the way that administrators behind the scenes in Silicon Valley are using our algorithms to suppress or promote information, and we have no control over that, but we do have control over what we post. So, are we inspiring or are we manipulating when we're communicating, whether online on social media or in person? So I will do a video shortly going more deeply into the issues relating to social media and how it is both the problem and the solution, actually. But I just want to tell you two quick insights that I've had in the last 24 hours. So most recently, so this morning again, I met with some of my newfound friends. Well, we've known each other for a couple of months now, and we went this time we went to a local town called Burscough to deliver copies of the light paper and to talk to shop owners and members of the public. And again, a mixed response, but we left thinking that we'd done more harm than good. You know, we'd engaged members of the public, we listened to what they had to say. Some of them said we were idiots, some of them said they don't want anything to do with us. But the majority of them were willing to engage, to read the paper, to listen to what we had to say, and we had some very productive conversations. Now that is, I talk about this all the time, that is I don't like the word activism, but that is the type of thing that needs to happen. In my mind, interactions in the real world are what is needed right now. Not to supplement what we might do on social media. What we might do on social media will be to supplement what we're doing in real life. And this is the point I want to make, because I feel that so many have become so conditioned by screens and information that there's this reluctance to actually meet face to face and to go out and try and have an impact in the real world. I'm noticing many in the awake group, as you know, I don't like that term, I need to come up with another word to describe it myself, but many in the awake group, most are not actually engaging in the real world. Now, for me, part of our movement, if you want to call it that, was that we wanted a return to more connected societies based around community and friendship, conversation. And to remove ourselves, people talk about going off grid, they talk about leaving the matrix. I think a lot of people talk a good game, but when it comes down to it, you know, I'm seeing the same faces who are making the effort, 6 or 7 same faces all the time, while there's a lot of people still lurking in the shadows, posting the odd time and messaging, but not actually coming out. And of course, people have commitments, absolutely, but it's quite clear that there are only some people who are willing to come out into the real world to positively influence. I want to know why, because if people choose to stay at home, that's absolutely fine. But if we're advocating for a better world based on face-to-face communication and interaction, and as I say, building those local community groups and things like that, and yeah, going off grid and removing ourselves from the enslavement of technology. Well, the most basic premise behind that would be, well, go and meet someone face to face, wouldn't it? I mean, come on, surely. Plus, that is the best and biggest way to promote a message anyway, whether it's just promoting a message or active peaceful civil disobedience. Peacefully disturbing people in their routine to give them a message that you think is important, and then they can choose whether to engage with it or not. At a time of building tyranny, that more than anything is what needs to happen before you get so far down the track that you can't even do that. So that's the most recent example. Is, again, as I say, just this morning, you know, we met up, 6-7 of us again, and we went round distributing the papers, chatting to people, and it was great. You come away thinking, that was absolutely brilliant, you know, a sense of camaraderie, a sense of achievement, a sense of making a positive influence. But it could be so much better if more people were doing this. Now, last night, I still have a Facebook account, and I went on Facebook for a little bit last summer and autumn before I removed myself. I hardly ever post on there anymore, hardly ever. But there's 1 or 2 people that I'm in contact with through Facebook. Now, I'm going to be closing my account down because I've decided that Facebook for me is just not worth my time. It's not worth my energy. And for me, there's a lot more negatives associated with Facebook than positives. Not exclusively so, but from my perspective, YouTube, a little bit different. As I say, I'm going to do a video on the pros and cons of social media and to what extent it's part of the problem and part of the solution shortly within the next few days. But I'll go on there once every few days and I'll just dip into it. And I did that last night, and it struck me once again that I see the same old posts, some of them from months, some of them from over a year ago. There's this one, it's a photograph of this Asian looking young man who's sat on a balcony on top of like a block of flats. And I think it's a photograph. It looks like an Algerian flag that he's got behind him, and you can see on the street below there are tens of thousands of people who are, you know, there's some kind of uprising in progress. I think it may be a photo that was possibly taken during the Arab Spring in 2011. And I see this photograph being shared all the time, with obviously the implication being that this is happening somewhere now. Well, when was it happening? Last summer? Is it happening today? Did it happen last night? Is it happening right now? Or did that actually happen about 10 years ago? Well, the truth is, I don't think anybody knows. But people are sharing these things, and I see these messages, a disease so deadly, you have to have a test to know you've got it, and a vaccine and all this kind of thing. It's I feel that it's almost like a bit of a... No, let's say it. I feel like people are in this psychosis, as bad a psychosis in the awakened group as the group that we've been remarking on for a long time now, that have been, as we know, completely brainwashed by propaganda. Because what good is it doing? Repeatedly, obsessively, relentlessly and incessantly sharing these same old posts all the time. And the people that are doing that, well, are they going out into the real world and making a difference? They may say they're going on protests, and that's, again, protests are good, but only to supplement work that you can do as an individual in your local community. That's how this ends. It's so incredibly simple. You know, a protest is good for a sense of camaraderie and a sense of belonging and a sense of community, but it doesn't actually... It's asking for your freedom back. It's not taking it back. So it's good from one perspective, but so going to protest and obsessively sharing posts on Facebook, we are past that point now. And I don't get why people don't get this. Is there some ego involved? I suspect that there is, because it feels good, doesn't it, to think you're in the right and to be sharing information to make the other side look stupid. Don't get me wrong, the stupidity, it knows no bounds. It's unbelievable. And I've covered all this. But the point I'm now making, we are now at the point in this whereby the people who switched on to what was going on relatively quickly, if they're still only sitting behind the screen typing stuff, well, actually just clicking forward and forwarding stuff that's not even their own creations, not going out and doing any, practicing any active civil disobedience, positively influencing people, engaging in conversations. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't really feel that those people are part of the solution at all. So there we go. Call it controversial if you want, but that phase has now expired. And just sitting there, forwarding the same old shit that's been going round and round and round and round and round, is that really contributing to creating a better society, creating those connections, to bringing down a tyranny, to bringing about a more free and liberal society? I don't think it is. So I'm going to implore people, anyone who is doing that, please stop forwarding stuff. As I've said many times, type something that's your own thoughts, own observations, own insights. Don't just forward somebody else's. Let's check the source before we do share any posts. But most of all, to everyone who still hasn't met up with their local group that they've joined, I want to ask why, and please do, because there's nothing to be scared of. You'll feed off the energy and you'll feel much better, and you will really feel like you're contributing to something positive. So they're my messages. We are obviously, and next week's going to be very hot, but we're approaching the end of summer and going into autumn and then the dark days of winter. I would really, really stress for people to make those connections in the real world, just like human beings have done for millennia, until about 5, 6, 7 years ago, when we became conditioned to just talk to each other from behind the screen or on WhatsApp or Facebook, whatever. Get out there into the real world, make those connections with others who share your beliefs and values, and who genuinely do and are doing something to bring about a freer world where we have choices, we have freedoms and liberties. So I hope this makes sense. You may disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine. This is just how I'm feeling at the moment. It's really simple. The solution, as I keep saying, really, really simple. Let's stop obsessively sharing other people's thoughts that we don't know whether the source is true or not. Let's create our own observations and share them with the world, but let's get out into the real world. Let's meet those people that are in the WhatsApp groups and the Telegram groups that we've joined. Why did we join them? Did we join just to carry on chatting, sending each other messages, or did we join because deep down we know that what we need to do is we need to go back to how it was in terms of how we used to communicate with each other, because that was when society was better than it is now. All right, please do let me know what you think about this, what I've said, and yeah, that's it. I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.